Okay, so here we go, part two. So I finished by talking about you should first find some kind of weapon. And I started by saying you can make it out of even a very short piece of wood. So first, what if you can't find anything growing at all? That's fine. Pick up a rock. Can't find a rock? Pick up a handful of sand. Throwing that in, what's the most important sense for most people? It's the eyes. Throw it in the eyes. Obviously, that'd be difficult if they're wearing goggles, but it will still temporarily, as the sand hits the goggles, if you have a large amount of it, if you make it sticky with your spit, that's another way that you can hold sand and rub it on your body. Just spit, 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 rub, spit, spit, rub. Don't do too much. It might feel kind of dry. Give your mouth time to rest. But, sorry, I'm just eating some mango chips, dried mangoes. Very good. So, improvise in whatever environment you are in. There's always something that can be made into a weapon. And in a lot of combat oriented orders, military outfits, one thing that is traditionally frowned upon is the use of poison. In a survival situation, rules of honor and etiquette go right out the window. You don't need them. You do whatever it takes to get back to or get to a place where you will be okay. So, there are two kinds of poison that the human body can make naturally that I know of. There are most likely many more. But human saliva does not like to be in the bloodstream. And human excrement absolutely does not like to be in the bloodstream. Of the two, excrement is the definitely the deadlier. You can cause sepsis much more easily with excrement than with saliva. But saliva can also cause sepsis in the bloodstream. Now, sepsis won't kill someone very quickly, like some very, very powerful poisons, whether they be animal or synthetic. But what it will do is, at the very least, make sure that whoever you wounded, if you didn't wound them fatally, they'll need medical attention, and it'll slow them down, and it will slow down other people who have to take care of them, people who might otherwise be looking for you. So, cover yourself in the dirt of whatever environment you're in. Get a weapon. Whatever it is, poison it. Now, obviously, if you're hunting, you don't want to use a poisoned weapon because then the sepsis, the bacterium, or whatever kind of poison you're using, will ruin the meat, render it inedible. Well, you could still consume it if you really charred the crap out of it. and cut it into very small pieces and charge the crap out of it, but it's a waste. You're better off just making a non-poison weapon or a poison weapon. So, another principle is that unless absolutely necessary, never travel by day. Yes, it's a lot easier to see where you're going. But if you are in a situation where you're being pursued, which is the worst kind of survival situation, more and more people are actively looking to hurt and or kill you, or bring you back to whatever horrible situation they had put you in that caused you to be naked and with nothing. Nighttime is your friend. Now, that does change slightly if you're in a situation where you know your enemy has thermal imaging, perhaps from a drone, and realistically that could be anyone. Realistically, even some random kidnappers who took you from wherever and are, serial killers or rapists or whatever they are, they could easily have a drone with thermal imaging. They're privately available to most people on the planet. You can buy pretty much anything these days. And a drone with thermal imaging, not hard to get. So that should be assumed. So day or night, thermal imaging is probably going to pick you up if you are not sticking to high heat areas. And at night, you should stick to cool areas and cover yourself with cold mud. Now, is that going to mask your signature? Probably not. But it's better than nothing. So, having said that, it's unlikely that they're going to have a huge army of drones looking for you. And one thing that whoever is operating the craft is going to do, if they have any intelligence or training, is they'll probably fly it in quadrants. And if you can visually see the drone, you can estimate where it's going to be looking with a reasonable chance if you understand quadrant scanning. If they're an amateur, they might be flying erratically, and that's that can be to your advantage and disadvantage. But the most important thing is to know how the drone's being operated, if you can see it, and if not, have an idea of what kind of training those people might have who are operating it. But otherwise, it is preferable to travel at night, despite thermal imaging, because not everyone looking for you may have thermal imaging, either as monoculars or binoculars, but they might still be out there. There might be sentries, whatever. So it's easy to see someone during the day, especially in a barren environment. Not so much at night. And in regard to the drone, chances that they're using multiple drones to find you is not so likely, unless you're an extremely wanted person for whatever reason. And that goes back to another point, is if you are in a prisoner of war camp or a prison or kidnapping situation where there are other prisoners, don't just save yourself. Save as many people as you can and break them all out at the same time, and then scatter, because they'll have to look for many people instead of just one. Always, always at least save one other person. So, the real test of a survivalist is not about going out into the woods and seeing how long you can camp for, camp or go hunting or whatever. It's seeing if you can escape from a hostile situation that has been beating you down for days, to the point where if you can manage to escape, you're not well hydrated, you're not well fed, you're not in a good place psychologically. You might even be severely wounded from torture, maybe even missing a limb or two. That is the real test of survival. But again, I'm going to cut this short. I'm going to make more parts to this with more information.